Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping straight into something pretty fascinating and definitely fast-moving, vibe coding.
Right.
You've probably heard the buzz around it, this idea that you can just use natural language, talk to an AI, and generate code. Almost like, describing your software and poof, it exists.
Exactly. And it raises that big question. Is the traditional way, the sort of deep dive into syntax and structure, becoming old hat?
Hmm.
That's really the core of the discussion, isn't it?
Yeah.
The term vibe coding itself,
Mm.
apparently coined by Andre, it just took off.
Yeah.
It really captures that feeling, that almost magical sense of AI translating everyday language into actual working code. And you see it spreading fast, even among, like, the big code influencers.
Absolutely. And you get these stories, right? Like Peter Level supposedly building a whole flight simulator MMO.
In JavaScript, no less.
In JavaScript.
Yeah.
And making money with ads, it paints this picture of like instant tech genius.
It does. But then there's the flip side.
Yeah, you also hear about people vibe coding, well, what some are calling crappy games.
Right. Which brings up that tension between, how fast you can build something versus maybe the quality or robustness.
It's this push and pull, isn't it? The appeal of making things super easily, super quickly. It's huge.
Incredibly appealing. But then you have, well, decades of programming knowledge saying, hang on, things can go wrong if you skip the fundamentals.
Which leads us straight to that pretty provocative statement from NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang. Is learning to code actually becoming obsolete?
It's a bold claim, and it really sets the stage for what we want to unpack today.
Yeah, so our mission in this deep dive is to look past the hype. We want to get a real sense of the potential of vibe coding, sure, but also its limitations, the risks involved.
And figure out how our role, the human role, is changing with these AI tools getting smarter all the time. We've looked at a bunch of sources to try and piece this together.
Okay, so let's start with just how far AI has actually come in spitting out code.
Well, the initial sort of wow moment really kicked off with GPT-3, remember? Its ability to generate HTML from just simple text prompts was pretty surprising back then.
It felt like magic.
It did. And since then, it's just exploded. Now we're seeing these really sophisticated AI coding agents. Things like Cognition AI's Devin, or they're even calling it an autonomous AI developer.
Autonomous, wow.
Yeah. And then you've got tools like Codium AI's Codium 8, which is interesting because it doesn't just write code, it also critiques it, suggests improvements, almost like having an AI code review buddy.
That's a huge leap. And these aren't just lab experiments anymore, right? They're actually being used.
Oh, definitely. The impact is already visible day to day.
Yeah.
You've got GitHub Copilot, Codium 8 itself, Amazon Code Whisperer.
Lots of developers are using these.
They are. They speed things up, help catch errors. That GitHub survey statistic was pretty eye-opening.
The 92% one.
Yeah, 92% of U.S. developers already using AI coding tools. That's not a gradual shift, that's a sea change.
It really is, and the progress is just relentless.
Look at Google DeepMind's AlphaCode 2, powered by Gemini Pro, I think. It reportedly beat 85% of humans in coding competitions.
85%. That's significant.
It is. It shows the problem-solving power these things have now. And Devin, okay, it's not public yet, but the claims about it writing and debugging code just from chat instructions, that's generating a lot of buzz.
And we saw that real-world example too, didn't we? The YouTuber, Creator Magic.
Right. Building that app, Comment Genie, was it?
Yeah, for managing YouTube comments.
Okay.
And they apparently did it in 3 days using a whole suite of AI tools.
What was really useful was seeing their process laid out.
How they structured it.
Exactly. They started with brainstorming, mapping it out with ChatGPT, using voice and text for features.
And they switched models.
Yeah, specifically to OpenAI's O1 preview model to get advice on the tech stack, the actual steps to build it. Like a high-level plan the AI would then help fill in.
Okay, so they had the plan, then the actual coding.
They use Replit for the cloud environment.
Mm-hmm.
But the key seemed to be Cursor Composer.
The AI agent.
Right, designed to autonomously write code based on prompts in that roadmap. They use building the login page as an example. Just tell Cursor Composer what you need, and it starts writing the code in Replit.
What stands out there is breaking it down, right?
Absolutely. Instead of build me an app, it was build this login page. It highlights that these tools, well, they work best with focused, specific instructions, not vague, big requests. That's key if you want to use them well.
And it wasn't just the back-end stuff either.
No, they used V0 for the front-end styling.
Just describing the look?
Pretty much. Describing the UI, asking for dark mode, and V0 generated the components. They'd even use Midjourney for the logo.
And AI for the logo, too.
Yeah, it shows how AI is touching, like, almost every part of the process now.
Hmm.
And Cursor Composer acted as the coordinator, integrating the logo, checking YouTube API docs, generating read-ebs, Docker files,
Wow.
and even iterating based on beta tester feedback. It really paints a picture of development being massively sped up by AI at every stage.
It certainly does. But, okay, despite all that impressive tech, the sources we looked at were pretty clear. The human element is still crucial.
Oh, absolutely. The idea that coders are just going to be replaced wholesale, that seems like a huge oversimplification right now.
Because coding is more than just typing syntax.
Exactly. It's fundamentally about logic, problem-solving, analytical thinking. That's the bedrock. Bill Gates had that quote, didn't he? About how learning to program stretches your mind, helps you think better.
Right.
Those are core skills you develop through coding, whether a human or an AI writes the final lines.
And even if AI writes a lot of the code, someone still needs to review it, right? Maintain it.
Definitely. The worry about spaghetti code, unstructured, hard-to-read stuff is real. Just because AI can churn out code fast doesn't mean it's good code or maintainable long-term.
Especially when you think about safety.
Security.
That's a critical point. As AI gets more autonomous in coding, having humans who understand it oversee things becomes even more important. That analogy from Harvard's Joel Mehta.
How about being in the passenger seat? Yeah, if you aren't the one piloting the vehicle, the AI is the one learning. And Gary Kasparov asking, if the machine programs itself, who knows what it'll do? You need people for QA, testing, security.
So it sounds like AI might actually expand the number of people who can code or contribute to code and just increase the sheer volume of code out there.
Probably. But that means true expertise, the architectural vision, the strategic direction that becomes even more valuable.
The bar for expertise might even go up.
Quite possibly. The skills needed are shifting. It's less about memorizing syntax.
And more about?
More about understanding the fundamentals, getting good at prompting AI effectively, which is tricky. Human language is fuzzy, code needs precision, and learning to collaborate with these tools.
John Carmack's point resonates there. Problem solving is still the core skill.
Right. And the discipline, the precision of traditional programming, that still has value. Plus, as Randall Diggs pointed out, you still need technical know-how to fix things when they break.
Which they inevitably do.
Exactly. Or to spot security issues, or wire systems together correctly. You can't just vibe your way through that without some understanding.
And the AI isn't perfect yet. Language ambiguity, vague requirements.
For sure. There's still a lot of research going into better human-AI collaboration, feedback loops to tackle those issues.
Okay, so let's circle back to vibe coding itself. We saw the creator magic example, which looked pretty positive. But the term also has this other connotation, this sort of mind virus idea.
Yes, that mind virus concept really points to this trend of people maybe rushing to build and launch things, sometimes low-quality things, just because AI makes it so easy now.
Getting caught up in the speed.
Exactly. The speed and ease can overshadow thinking about security or scalability, or if the thing is even maintainable down the road.
And that cautionary tale about the indie hacker.
Right. Built a SaaS product, got paying customers, all through vibe coding. Yeah, hacked and taken down because they lacked that fundamental security understanding. It's a stark reminder. Relying only on the vibe, without the grounding, can lead to really bad outcomes.
But it's not all bad, right? Vibe coding can work.
It absolutely can, if done thoughtfully. Billion-dollar businesses might well come out of this, built with tools like vZero, Bolt, Cursor, Windsurf maybe. The potential is there.
So how do you do it properly? The Fireship video had some rules.
3 key ones, yeah. First, pick a popular, simple tech stack.
Like React, Express, Tailwind.
Exactly. Things LLMs know really well because there's tons of public code and examples out there, GitHub, Stack Overflow, etc.
Makes sense. The AI has more data to work with.
Precisely. The speaker even mentioned preferring other frameworks personally, but admitted sticking to the mainstream often gets better results with AI right now.
Okay, rule number 2.
Get good at Git. Version control. This was stressed as absolutely essential.
Because the AI might mess things up.
It might. It could introduce bugs, even delete stuff accidentally. Git is your safety net, your undo button. They mentioned AI tools for commits, like Claude Code, but said you still need the basic manual Git skills.
So fundamental good practices still apply.
Totally. And the third rule was about mindset, shifting from just being a coder to more of a product manager, meaning breaking down the big goals into really small, specific steps for the AI, giving it clear context for each little problem. You want deterministic output from the AI, not, wild creativity that might not work.
Guide the AI, precisely.
Exactly. So the takeaway is AI can do a lot of the coding grunt work, but you still need a human who understands the goal, can give clear instructions, and ensures the final product is actually good, secure, and works.
Just relying on vibes alone is risky. Even Peter Levels probably needed his existing tech skills for that flight sim.
Almost certainly.
Okay, let's touch on the cost and value of these tools, because that's always a factor. There's a difference between the sort of user-friendly, no-code ones and the more developer tools like Cursor or Windsurf.
Yeah, the pricing models vary quite a bit. Those more lovable, user-friendly tools often charge per message.
And the issue there was,
That a tiny request can cost the same as a complex one. So costs can rack up unexpectedly if you're not careful with how you prompt. Then you see token-based models, which can be confusing if you're new to AI, or monthly credits that aren't always super clear on limits.
right, but Cursor had a different model.
Yeah, more of a subscription, like $20 a month for, say, 500 fast requests and unlimited slow ones. The analysis suggested that for heavy coding tasks, Cursor could actually be way cheaper per query than the per-message tools.
Okay, and how did it compare to Windsurf?
Windsurf was mentioned as potentially having better performance sometimes, but its pricing was seen as more complicated. These flow action credits charging for the request and for editor actions.
Sounds confusing.
Yeah, it seemed less user-friendly and potentially more expensive overall. So for now, Cursor seemed to be the recommended option for many.
What was interesting, though, was that even a dev tool like Cursor could be used by non-coders.
If they prompt strategically,
Yeah.
telling the AI specifically, use only static HTML, CSS, JavaScript, don't install packages, no TypeScript. Someone without formal training could potentially build things, like that example of a responsive website with animations.
For pennies, basically.
For the equivalent of like 8 cents for 2 prompts, it shows how much more accessible this is becoming.
It really does underline that accessibility point. Okay, so wrapping this up, it's clear vibe coding, powered by all these AI assistants. Copilot, Codeium, Tab9, Cursor, ChatGPT, you name it, it's a major force now.
No doubt. They're doing code generation, completion, debugging, a whole range of tasks.
And as Talisco pointed out, these tools do work. They let people without traditional coding skills build applications.
And the AI's ability to handle errors, to iterate quickly, that's a big advantage for development speed.
But, and it's a big but, building successful software is still more than just code, isn't it?
Absolutely. You need to understand the problem deeply, the business logic, and that human connection, the collaboration within a team, that's still vital.
So the required skills are definitely changing. Less pure coding mastery.
And more expertise in using AI solutions effectively. Developing that broader T-shaped skill set, understanding AI-generated code, integrating it.
Which might mean fewer people needed for some projects, more competition.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
That increased efficiency could change team structures and the job market.
And we can't forget those core software qualities. Maintainability, security, scalability. A pure vibe approach might just skip over those.
Leading to vulnerable systems or things that just don't scale later on.
Talisco also had that interesting final point about innovation.
Right. The current AI is trained mostly on existing solutions. So if we rely on it too much, could it actually stifle genuinely new ways of doing things? Hold back real evolution in software development?
That's a really thought-provoking angle.
It is.
So the big picture seems to be AI tools and vibe coding. Incredible potential for speed, for accessibility, huge accelerators.
But that foundational understanding of programming, critical thinking, careful human oversight, those remain absolutely essential if you want to build software that's robust, secure, and actually innovative.
So to sum up our deep dive, AI is changing coding profoundly, faster, more accessible.
But definitely not a complete replacement for human expertise, not yet anyway. Vibe coding. Powerful, yes, but risky if you're not thoughtful about it and don't have the fundamentals down.
It seems crucial that we all adapt, right? Focus on problem solving, learn to talk to the AI effectively, but keep understanding the core concepts.
Which brings us to a final question for you, the listener, to think about. As AI gets woven deeper into how we build software, how do we actually ensure the quality, the security, the long-term health of all this code that runs our world?
Yeah, and what new roles, what new responsibilities will emerge for the people who build things with code in this new era?
It's definitely worth exploring some of these tools we mentioned, Cursor, V0, see how they feel. And really think about that balance, leveraging AI's power while keeping that deep understanding of software principles.
We'd love to hear your experiences, your thoughts on where this is all headed. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.